Shalom, good evening. This is TV7 Israel News broadcast to you from Jerusalem. And in today's top stories, cautious optimism is reportedly reigning in Jerusalem regarding prospects for an imminent hostage release deal. Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu visits the Syrian Golan Heights, during the course of which he underscores that Jerusalem will determine the best arrangement that will ensure Israel's security. Turkey is amassing troops along the Syrian border near the Kurdish majority city of Kobani as Ankara pledges to eradicate the Kurdish YPG militia. Israel is inching closer to reaching a deal for the release of hostages that have been held captive by the Islamist Hamas terror group for the past 439 days. Nevertheless, despite reported progress in the talks, understandings between Hamas and Israel have yet been reached on the main issues in contention that have prevented a deal to date. These include the IDF presence on the Philadelphia corridor, which separates between the Gaza Strip and Egypt, and the number and plan for releasing hostages. Meanwhile, families of hostages held captive, to particularly include wives and children of men who remain in captivity and who are not within a so-called humanitarian category, despite being civilians, are urging the government in Jerusalem not to give in to any deal unless all hostages are released. Among those demanding the release of all hostages in one stage rather than merely a number of them is Sharon Aloni, who was released together with her two little girls in a previous deal after 49 days of Hamas captivity, forcing her and her two little girls to be forcibly separated from their husband and father for the past 390 days.
ביום הראשון לעסקה, אחרי 49 ימים, הגיע הרגע הקשה בחיי. הופרדנו מדוד. חיבקנו אותו, והבנות אחזו בו בידיהן הקטנות, מבלי להבין את משמעות הפרידה. הוא נשאר שם, במנהרות החשוכות לבדו. מאז שחזרנו, אני מנסה להיות חזקה בשביל אמא ויולי, אבל איך אפשר להסביר לילדות שאבא שלהן עדיין שם? מקבלי ההחלטות חייבים להבין עם אילו צלקות ומחלות חזרנו אחרי 52 ימים בלבד. דלקת ריאות, זיהומים, אובדן משקל, פחדים וסיוטים בלתי פוסקים. עכשיו תארו לכם 438 ימים כאלה. מה דוד עובר שם לבד? שנה בלעדינו. ועכשיו, כשמדברים על עסקה חלקית, שמשאירה את דוד ושאר הדברים מאחור, אני לא מצליחה להבין איך זה אפשרי. איך אפשר להחליט שמישהו יכול לחכות? שכל יום נוסף שהוא נשאר שם אינו גזר דין מוות.
It is important to know that amid reports of progress towards a deal, in which only a limited number of hostages are expected to be released in exchange for far-reaching Israeli concessions, CIA Director William Burns has met in Doha today with the Qatari Prime Minister to discuss the outlined agreement. Separately, Hamas officially confirmed the reported progress, noting that in light of the serious and positive talks taking place in Doha today, under the mediation of the Qatari and Egyptian brothers, as they put it, reaching an agreement for a ceasefire and prisoner exchange is possible. Meanwhile, in Washington, U.S. National Security Advisor Jake Sullivan, during a Q&A session at a New York City event, highlighted the need to convert Israel's tactical achievements versus Hamas into long-term strategic endgame. President Biden's national security advisor continued by highlighting the outgoing administration's deep involvement when it comes to the Hamas-instigated war versus Israel, particularly focused on the humanitarian situation in the Gaza Strip.
There is not a conflict in the world in modern history where as many people in the U.S. government, up to and including the National Security Advisor, could count for you the daily number of trucks, the crossings, the roadblocks, the obstacles, as in this case. It is under the most intense microscope, understandably, because people are suffering. It means that every single day, I personally am getting a report on the humanitarian situation. I'm getting a list of the things that we need to ask of Israel to try to alleviate it, and working that day in, day out, and never being satisfied, because at the end of the day, in a war zone like this, you always want to be pushing for more.
Sullivan, who is regarded as the most powerful man today in Washington after the outgoing president, further addressed the fluid situation in Syria following the fall of the Assad regime.
First of all, we have to recognize that the minute Damascus fell, ISIS began to look for any opportunity it could take to reconstitute, grow, spread, and ultimately recreate a platform from which to threaten the United States and Americans around the world. And so within hours of Assad falling and HTS rolling into Damascus, the president ordered the U.S. military to take military action against ISIS personnel and ISIS facilities in the central Syrian desert, the Badia, and we're going to have to continue to do that.
It is important to know that Turkey is amassing troops along the Syrian border to include a large concentration of Turkish commandos and artillery forces near the Kurdish majority city of Kobani, in addition to the Turkish-backed Jeysh el-Watani, or National Syrian Army. The evident buildup coincides with Ankara's unambiguous intent to confront the so-called Kurdish YPG, which Turkey views as an extension of the PKK, which is an internationally designated terror group.
Bir defa YPG'nin elimine edilmesi, ortadan kaldırılması bizim stratejik hedefimiz. Yani ya bunlar kendi kendilerini feshederler ya feshedilirler, yani yok olurlar. Şimdi burada tabii belli parametreler var. O parametreleri belki ifade etmek faydalı olur diye düşünüyorum. Birincisi, ifade ettiğim gibi, yani biz her ne kadar imkan ve kabiliyetlerimiz buna müsait olsa da ilk etapta Suriye'deki kardeşlerimizin kendi toprak bütünlüğünü, milli bütünlüğünü sağlamayla ilgili atacağı adımlarla bu tehdidi bertaraf etmesine yönelik adımları tabii ki bekleyeceğiz.
It is important to know that the Kurdish YPG is effectively the largest contingent within the US-led Syrian Democratic Forces, which have played a vital part in the Western efforts to eradicate the Islamic State, a significant point of contention between Washington, European capitals, and Ankara.
Şimdi Batılılar kendi vatandaşlarını, DAEŞ'li olanları kendi vatanlarına getirmemek için başka bir terörist örgütü kullanıyorlar. Gardiyan olarak. Yani PKK'ya verilen rol gardiyan rolü. PKK şu ana kadar aldığı desteği gardiyanlıktan ötürü aldı. Bu gardiyan rolünü alıp yani buradakini tutuyorlar ve bunun bölgeye ve bize ürettiği maliyeti hiçbir zaman için umursamıyorlardı. Şimdi biz bunu çok açığa koyduk. Net söyledik. Şimdi bu strateji tabii iflas edince yapmaları gereken, bir defa özellikle Avrupalı devletlerin kendi DAEŞ'çuklarını alıp götürmeleri lazım.
The latter point has been the long-time position of Ankara, as part of which it pushes for Islamic radicals of Islamic State, whose parents immigrated to Europe from the Middle East and beyond, to be absorbed back into European societies. Meanwhile, in Washington, Pentagon Press Secretary Major General Pat Ryder was asked about Minister Hakan Fidan's remarks about Turkey's intentions vis-a-vis the YPG militia in Syria.
Yeah, I don't have a comment to provide on the foreign minister's comment. What I would say is what I've relayed before, which is that the SDF remains an important partner. I think it's important to remember what Daesh or ISIS is capable of, as we've seen in the past, and we all have a vested interest in ensuring that they cannot resurge. And so I know, again, we're speaking with our Turkish counterparts and others in the region as it relates to the challenges associated with ISIS, as well as the SDF and the continued important role they play in preventing a resurgence of ISIS. And so we'll continue to have those conversations.
Turning to the Syrian side of the Golan Heights, where Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu, alongside Jerusalem's top security brass, toured the area, which the IDF has captured for the purpose of guaranteeing the security of Israel's border communities.
אני פה בשיח חרמון עם שר הביטחון, הרמטכ"ל, אלוף פיקוד צפון, ראש השב"כ ומפקדים בכירים. אנחנו פה בחיתוך מצב כדי להחליט על היערכות ישראל במקום החשוב הזה עד שימצא סידור אחר שמבטיח את ביטחון ישראל. זה מעלה אצלי נוסטלגיה. הייתי פה לפני 53 שנים עם החיילים שלי בסיירת מטכ"ל. המקום לא השתנה, הוא אותו מקום. אבל החשיבות שלו לביטחון ישראל רק קיבלה משנה תוקף בשנים האחרונות ובמיוחד בשבועות האחרונים עם האירועים הדרמטיים שמתרחשים כאן מתחתנו בסוריה. אנחנו נקבע את הסידור הטוב ביותר שיבטיח את ביטחוננו.
Thank you for watching TV7 Israel News. I would like to start by thanking all of you who stand in support of TV7 Israel, both in prayer and finance. Since TV7 Israel is exclusively donation-based, your support is vital for our continued operations here in Jerusalem. Therefore, if you're blessed by our productions, please consider making a donation. You can do so via our website at www.tv7israelnews.com. Separately, I would like to encourage you, as ever, pray for the peace of Jerusalem and salvation of Israel. I'm Jonathan Hessen, wishing you an Erev Mevorach, and God willing, we will see you during our next update. Until then, Shalom from Jerusalem.